The latest Hearthstone expansion, Voyage to the Sunken City, is here. Welcome to another Tempo Storm Meta Snapshot breakdown. With the annual rotation and the release of the newest expansion and core set, the Hearthstone metagame has undergone some serious changes. Old fan-favorite cards have made a reappearance, and new cards are dominating the game. This rundown will help you prepare for the latter. Before we dive into the top decks in Standard, we want to take a second to remind you to subscribe to our channel over here at Tempo Strategy to be kept up to date with all of our content. Now let's begin our voyage. Leading off Tier 1 this time is Aggro Demon Hunter. Many players were surprised to see this deck left largely untouched during the latest balance patch, as it only saw Puffer Fist toned down. This archetype plays out differently from most aggro decks. It doesn't always swarm the board in the first few turns, and it is more about consistently pushing damage and hiding your minions behind taunts. On top of this, both Drekthar and Lady Steno are powerful cards that can instantly win your unfavored matchups, making the deck very consistent. Aggro Demon Hunter's best matchups come from some of the greedier decks, truly punishing things like Ramp or Alignment Druid. On the other side, Aggro Demon Hunter can have a hard time against control decks, with Control Warrior being its worst matchup by far. The endless removal and armor gain is exhausting, and the only surefire way to win is with a large Lady Steno turn. The next deck we're looking at in Tier 1 is the previously mentioned Ramp Druid. This deck was by far the strongest archetype on ladder prior to the nerfs, and despite seeing both Kazakhstan and Miracle Growth nerfed, the archetype remains a competitive powerhouse. The ability to curve with your ramp into your power turns, such as Onyxian Scales, leaves the game immensely difficult for your opponent, and if they don't apply pressure early, they'll feel useless. Most ramp druids have shifted towards a dragon package in order to gain value out of new Kazakhstan, but some have opted away from the dragon package in order to play threats such as Battlegrounds Battlemaster. Its best matchups are against the slower, more control-focused ladder decks, so Control Warrior feels like a free matchup for you. As for bad matchups, decks that go under you, such as Aggro Demon Hunter, tend to be problematic. The last deck we're looking at in Tier 1 is Quest Hunter. This deck continues to be the best quest deck for ladder, making use of the class's cheap and reliable damage spells to work towards its quest reward. The archetype plays very similarly as before, but in some matchups you'll want to finish your quest after you play the hero card Tavish. In general, Quest Hunter preys on control decks such as Paladin Warrior, thanks to the endless pressure from Tavish. Sadly, Quest Hunter does find itself struggling against both forms of Druid, making it a risky ladder queue at times. And that wraps up our look into the first tier for this meta snapshot. As always, we're going to briefly take a look at the top 3 decks in the second tier, but we want to quickly remind you to check out our website over at tempostorm.com to view the rest of the meta report. Leading off Tier 2 is Control Warrior. This deck has been acting as the rock to the rock, paper, scissors meta, keeping some of the outliers in check. If it weren't for Warrior, the meta would be entirely dominated by Demon Hunter. So much like spiders, it's best not to hate them too much. Control Warrior does promote long games, but barring mirrors, you'll often be playing at the pace of your opponent's decks. On the bright side, this deck will let you catch up on movies or TV shows, making it perfect for Netflix. The second deck hovering the top of Tier 2 is Anaconda Druid. This archetype plays out very similarly to Ramp Druid in the early stages of the game, stalling out while gaining mana, then shifting to a more combo-focused endgame. After reaching a large enough mana pool, the Druid will set up as a mana saber so that they can gain mana in the same turn that they cast Alignment. This alone locks most decks out, but against control decks, you also have Blade Master Okani to effectively deny their entire next turn. Charge Warrior is the last deck we're looking at in Tier 2. This archetype is similar to Control Warrior in some aspects, except it closes the game out with charge threats instead of with sheer boredom. Charge Warrior makes use of cards such as Faceless Manipulator and Captain Galvangar to kill their opponent in one turn, giving it a lot of game against slower decks while preserving its chances versus aggro. That wraps up our first meta snapshot for the Voyage to the Sunken City meta. We're very excited to see what future balance patches and the mini set bring. Thank you so much for continuing to watch and support our content here at Tempo Storm. We can't wait to bring you more meta snapshots in the coming week, but for now, we hope that this one will help you on your ladder climb. If you enjoyed the video, please be sure to subscribe to be kept up to date with all of our Hearthstone content. Until next time.